welcome to Berkshire Guitar Amplifier Repairs in Reading, England. We have on the bench today, or rather on my nice portable trolley, a Marshall JCM900. The client says he hadn't used it for a couple of years, but when he put it away 2 years ago, it was very low volume and distorted, just low power, distorted output. I don't know what's wrong with it now, and this is going to be one of my follow-on videos where you see what I see as I get stuck into the amp and try and find out what's wrong with it. I've no idea how long the video is going to be. It depends how, I don't know, lucky I get, if you like, in finding the fault. So I'll join you in a moment when I've pulled the chassis, got it up on the bench, and we'll get it connected to a speaker and some sort of signal and see if we can find out what's going on with this amp. Okay, here we are looking down on the chassis. This is a strange amplifier. It's a mixture of valve and semiconductor. You can see all these operational amplifiers on the board here. Not quite sure why they've done that, because they do have 3 preamp valves. And there's nothing obvious here. I can't see any signs of any burned out components. So what we need to do is formulate a plan of action, which I think will be interesting for you to watch the diagnostics process. So the first thing I'm going to do is to power up the amp and put a signal in and see what it's doing. Then we can take it from there. So let me get a signal connected, some power connected, and a speaker connected, and then we can see what's what with this amp. Okay, quick update. I plugged in a signal generator here, loudspeaker here, and obviously we have the mains on and the thing is powered up. The signal generator is a fairly low tone and I can just about hear it in the background. And when I first plugged it in, it came up full power, but now it's gone down to virtually nothing. You almost certainly won't be able to hear that faint hum in the background. But I noticed just tapping around here, ooh, that's come back already. I'm flexing this board here. You can hear that coming and going. I want to be a little bit careful here because I don't want to fix this problem and then have it come back to haunt me. In other words, you can start tapping around a board and the problem goes away and it never comes back again. I'm wondering if actually this is a fairly simple one. I'm wondering if it's the contacts on the send-return jacks. You often get that problem where they sit there for ages and never get used, and dirt gets in these little switches here and breaks the signal, because the send and return takes the output from the preamp and puts it back into the power amp, and the only thing sitting in the line there is a little bit of bent metal here passing the signal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little precision screwdriver. Here we go, and the trick here is just to touch very gently on top of here to push those two contacts together to see if that cures the problem. This one and this one. No. Maybe. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is get a jack plug and plug it into here and just lift this switch very gently, see if the sound goes away. Take the jack plug out very slowly, allowing that switch to make, and see if we get a kind of dirty signal. So let me just go and grab a jack plug. Okay, here we are. Here's a jack plug. It's not... Oh! Just going to turn the volume down. Okay, so as I was showing you that, I just banged this jack with the plug, and the sound came back immediately. So I'm suspecting now these jacks. So let's see if we can just plug in here very, very gently here. You just want to lift that, and see, as you can see, it kills the sound, which is what you'd expect because you're jacking into the effects return. So you would expect that to kill the sound. Now I'm just going to pull it out very gently. Okay, but that's a little bit inconclusive. See, it doesn't take much to get rid of that little bit of dirt in there. You've only got to open and close the contacts a couple of times and it's gone. So I think what I'll do now is I will clean these jacks properly with some deoxit and work the jack plug in and out a few times, and then see if this fault has gone permanently. In other words, if I start tapping around and banging the boards, it's absolutely solid, this signal. So let me just go and grab some deoxit. Okay, here we are, and the way to do this is to, I'll do this right hand jack first, is to push the jack plug in, and that opens up these switches here, and then of course you can get the spray in there. We'll just let that settle and we'll do the other one. So we put the plug in, opens up the switches, give it a spray, and now the trick is to work the plug in and out a few times to just to wipe those. Oh, that's interesting. That has not cured that. That's interesting. That's still very iffy, that. That's gone, the sound's gone completely now. Let me just see if pressing these down, making these, oh yes, that. It seems a bit delicate, that particular middle. Very sensitive, that look, just the slightest touch. Seems very delicate here too on this one. I'm just flexing the board up and down. Very sensitive, that. I wonder, just the slightest touch on there and it's coming and going. I think I'm going to have to take this board out. I want to have a little look on the underside here and see if we have a dry joint situation. It's certainly cleaning that, which does 99 times out of 100 cures this problem, is not curing it. So either we need a new jack socket in here, or there's a dry joint under here which needs soldering. Either way we're going to have to take the board out. It's not too arduous, I don't think. We just have to take all the nuts off the back here, and hopefully the board will flip over and we can have a look underneath. So let me do that now, and I'll catch you when I've got the board upside down. Well, that was fairly straightforward to take that out. I've got my little pot full of bits and the board just swings out enough for us to at least have a look underneath. Now I've had a little look underneath with my eyeglass, and I was hoping to see a nice dry joint on one of these contacts here, but they look sort of okay, a bit to my surprise. But what I'm just going to do is to go over them quickly with a soldering iron, because sometimes you can't see a dry joint. So that's the first thing to do. It may be that we have to change a couple of these sockets. The little switch parts might be sprung. So anyway, I'm just going to go over all of these joints. Three, 4, 5, 6. That's one socket done. And then we'll try it again and see if we have any improvement. Right, those are the connections done there. I don't need to put the board back, I don't think. What I'll do is put a little bit of paper under here just to stop it shorting. And and oh, I don't know. Now that's a little bit, it's for the sake of a couple of minutes, I think it's probably worth just getting it a little bit more stable. I only need to put in one of these and that will hold it nicely. Good, that's better. Feel a bit happier about that now. Right, well let's just let's do this live. Let's plug in the power and the speaker. Where was that? There. And the signal generator in front. I can immediately hear it's not right. So let's just, I'm just pressing these contacts down again. Wow, that is incredibly sensitive, that socket. Well, it's unusual for one of those to go actually faulty. Okay, I might just try another trick before I change that socket. It's a way of cleaning the sockets, which I think you might be interested in anyway, so I'll stop the camera and get that set up. Let me just show you what we're going to attempt to do here. This connection here is the one that's... I've just pulled the power on that. This connection here is the one that's causing us the trouble. The slightest touch on, well, I think it's here, but certainly just delicately touching that causes the sound to come and go. But also if I get involved over here it seems to as well. But anyway, we've cleaned it with some deoxit. I'm going to now cut a very thin strip of paper from this sheet here, and I'm going to insert it between those two switch contacts there. The way you do that is you plug a jack plug in, which opens up the switch contacts. You put the piece of paper in, put a bit of deoxit in, and then gradually just slowly pull the piece of paper out, and that just cleans the contacts. I'm not feeling terribly hopeful about this, but it is certainly worth a shot. This is a bit hard to do with one hand, but let me just show you the principle. You plug a jack plug in to just open up the contact there, and then you take a very narrow strip of paper with the switch cleaner on, and you put it in there. Now you can take the jack plug out, which grips the paper. You saw that being gripped, and now if you're lucky and can get hold of it, it's gone exactly in that groove there. You can very slowly pull the paper out, and that wipes the contacts. So I'm going to do that 2 or 3 times now with the camera off. Don't use emery cloth or anything like this, it's too brutal. An ordinary piece of A4 paper is fine. I'm going to do all of these contacts here in that manner, and then we will see. I'm not feeling hopeful, but we'll see if that cures it. Okay, I did that cleaning, and at first I thought it had cured it. However, I noticed that when I push the plug in, we know that kills it, that's okay. But when I did, there, it's gone. Sounds completely gone, look. So when I did that a few times, and now the slightest touch on this contact again, and it comes back. Right, so what I'm now going to do, I'm still not kind of really happy here. I've never known a jack socket to actually behave like that. Cleaning normally sorts that out. So I'm going to take the board out again, and I'm going to put a wire link between here and here on the underside, just a quick, oh, that is sensitive. A quick temporary link to bridge that contact, and if it's completely solid when I do that, then I'll know that we have a problem with that jack socket and I will replace it. I'm holding off a little bit on replacing it because I'm not sure I've got one in stock, and it could be 2 or 3 days for me to get one. Right, so let's do that. That won't take long. I'll join you in a minute. Okay, there we go. Didn't take long, of course. I only had it held in with one nut, and we are after just checking which one we want. It's this second one in, that one there. I've made myself a little wire link, and I'm just going to literally tack it across here and here. So let me do that now. It's only temporary, so we don't need to be too clever. There we go. Bridge that contact there, so it doesn't matter what we do to this little switch here. Hopefully now, if it is that switch, this will be solid and we won't be able to induce a fault. I'm still got jury out on this one. My experience tells me there may be something else going on here. Now, where's this going to? Oh, there you go. Right, that's gone. Right, that's gone back in nicely. We'll just put one nut on there, and let's fire it up. So we have power, speaker, it's just warming up. Okay, sounds good so far. Right, that's fine. That's right. That all sounds good. So let's just have a little tap around here to make sure. Oh, and there we go. So it does. Just switched over to channel 1. There's a fair bit of hum there. Might be. Oh yeah. Okay, volume. Okay. We need to do some checks on the amp, but basically we seem to have solved that problem there. It is actually the contact on that jack, so I'm going to need to see if I have a replacement jack there, and then we'll get involved in the rest of the amp to make sure it's okay and behaving as it should do. Some of these pots are a bit scratchy. I'm just turning. They're not too bad. Right, okay, so I'll have a little scratch around to see if I've got a spare jack exactly like that. They're all slightly different, of course. Then I'll come back to you and let you know if I have. Okay, great. Well, looky what I found in my box of jacks. A very nice, brand new, gold-plated 3-pole jack, which will fit nicely in there. So now, or in there I should say, so the task now is to remove this jack, and to do that I will use my desoldering tool, which I'll show you briefly when I have it set up. Okay, here's the beast. It's a Dura tool desoldering station. It has a vacuum pump and a soldering iron. So when you put the bit onto the part you want to desolder, as soon as it's melted you press this trigger, and you can probably hear the vacuum pump going in the background, and that sucks the solder up through into this container here. A great little tool. You can pay a lot of money for a desoldering station, hundreds and hundreds of pounds, but these are very inexpensive. I think they're around about £100 each. So if you can get your hands on one, which might be a bit difficult, then I'd strongly recommend you get hold of one if you're thinking of doing any kind of electronic work. The temperature's coming up, it needs to get up to about 370. As soon as that's up to temperature, I'm going to flip this board over and just run it down those 3 terminals there. I'll try and show you that. Okay, the desoldering tool is up to temperature. First thing I'm going to do is just remove this little link I put in temporarily, because that's just going to get in the way. And with a bit of luck the desoldering tool will make fairly light work of this. If not, you can use some solder wick. That works quite well. Okay, that made reasonably light work of that. Well, that's got rid of most of the solder. I think we've done it with the soldering tool. I'm just going to see if a little bit of judicious leverage will help us out here. Oh, there we go. It's kind of coming. Yeah. Doesn't want to perform. I'm just going to desolder this back leg here, which seems to be sticky. There we go. Alright, so that's the old socket out. Right, it's back up to temperature. I'm just going to use it to clean off these pads. Good. Not working brilliantly this at the moment. Sometimes it needs cleaning out. In fact, oftentimes it needs cleaning out. So when that's cool, I think I'll take that apart and clean it up. The other thing you can use is this Chemwick desoldering braid, which is really excellent stuff. And this kind of wicks up the solder. But we're good to go there. We can put the new socket in. So there we go. Hope it fits. Oh, right, it doesn't fit. Immediate problem. You can see it's much higher than these, so it's the right pitch, but it's higher. Check you can see that. Okay, I'll zoom in. There you go, it gives you a better view. So that won't go down any further than that, and that won't line up with the holes. So let me have a think about that, and I'll get back to you. As you might imagine, I keep all the boards that I take out of amplifiers, and I just chuck them all in a big box in case they come in handy. And here is one that I took from an amp ages ago. Don't even know what it is. And these sockets look like they're the right ones. They are flush down onto the board like these are here, and I think they'll line up. So it's now a question of taking off one of these from this board here, and I see it's held down by these extra tabs here too, which makes life a little bit more difficult. They're holding the screen down. So I think I'll have a go at taking a socket off this board. I won't film that. See how I get on with that, and then report back to you if I manage to get the socket out. Ugh, well, it took me half an hour to get this socket off. It was very well held down. So we will now see if we can pop that in there and see if that will fit. I haven't checked it yet. Let's have a go. Yeah, that's looking fairly good there. Right, I think I'll solder that in, and then we'll see if the amp works. One. Two. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's in. Let's see if the board actually fits and the socket pokes through okay. Yep, that's looking good. Now to see if it works. Pop a little screw on there. I'll put the power back on. Speaker connected. Let it warm up a bit. Good, there's the tone. And we have cured that problem. We've cured that problem. I need to check the rest of the amp out because this amp has been lying around for quite a while. Right, so that's good. I'll put the rest of these nuts and things on the back. See if this one fits the new socket. That will be a bonus. Oh, it does. Cool, a miracle. That. 2 red ones for the speakers. Give each of them a little half turn with the spanner here. You don't need to tighten these up very much, just a bit more than finger tight. There we go. Jolly good. Alright, well the next thing I'm going to do is to turn the amp back over on its face, and we are going to see if the thing basically works. I haven't checked the BIOS. We're going to have a look at what the BIOS is doing and just give the amp a general look over since it hasn't been used for quite a while. Well, there you go, one of the oldest problems in the book, dirty jack sockets, especially those FX send and return jacks. It did fool me for a while though, this one. I wasn't really looking in that area. I don't know why, maybe a bit of a brain fade, I'm not sure. But we got there in the end. Bit of a shame we had to change the actual jack socket. That's very rare, like 99 times out of 100, cleaning it sorts it perfectly. But it was not to be in this case, and fortunately I was able to find a jack that fit. They're often subtly different. You think a 1/4 inch jack is a 1/4 inch jack, but some of them are PCB mounted, some are panel mounted, some stand off the PCB, some are flush with the PCB. It's all, you know, quite messy really, but we got a bit lucky. I had one in stock. Customer's happy, I'm happy, another amp fixed. I'll catch you on the next video.